I realized from very early on that people didn't really know what to do with extra virgin olive oil. So I used to do olive oil tastings in shops in London, and they asked me, oh, I've read extra virgin olive oil is so good for your health, but you know, where can I use it beside a salad? And I remember telling this customer, and I said, do you eat boiled potatoes? She said, oh yes, I eat boiled potatoes every day. And I said, and what do you season them with? Oh, butter. I said, well, next time, try with a spoonful of extra virgin olive oil and some sea salt. So what I realized was that it was useful to show and communicate how we used extra virgin olive oil in our kitchens every day. And I've really been committed ever since to doing that. The whole Ravidà olive oil experience started in a very, very simple way when you're a teenager. I used to be a journalist, as you probably know, and I used to live at first in Paris and London, and as Italians, we love to get together. What was the easiest way of getting together when you're in your 20s? Cooking pasta with olive oil or making bruschettas with olive oil. And at the time, you could bring your bottles of oil on the plane. So if I came to Sicily, I always made sure I came to Sicily during harvest time and brought back a beautiful bottle of freshly pressed olive oil and had all my friends over. And it started that, everybody was asking, why can't we get this? What is this? Because people were just not used to quality olive oils. And it took a long time until I moved to London, and the quality olive oil market was beginning to burgeon. And I came across the oil merchant, who is our current olive oil importer in the UK, and brought him a bottle of extra virgin of our olive oil. And he said, oh, are there olive oil trees in Sicily? I said, well, yes, quite a few. And he said, well, if you could put this oil in a bottle and stick a label to it, we have a big food show in March and we can show it there. And on the first day, we were picked up by some of London's top stores, which included at the time Harvey Nichols, the Conrad Shop, and Selfridges, Fortnum & Mason, some of our customers, and Harrods have been our customers. We are now at Waitrose as well. And that's how it took off. There was also an American buyer, an Australian buyer, so within day one, we were in 3 continents. The early 90s were a golden time for quality extra virgin olive oils. And so there were the first olive oil competitions, and we were asked to participate. And on the first one, we became the first Sicilian olive oil to win a gold award in Italy. Because at the time, you have to know that quality oils were recognized as being produced only in Tuscany, whilst Apulia was the region where quantity was being produced, but Sicily was really out of the map. So that really set a precedent for Sicilian olive oils, and that is really how the whole sector has really developed and become a very successful sector. There are some beautiful, much bigger producer than we are in Sicily, who are exporting all over the world and really bringing out the name of Sicilian olive oils worldwide. After that, we won several awards. We won over 35 awards, gold and silver awards over the years. Sicilian olive oils are quite special because they tend to have very low acidity and peppery taste and medium grassy flavor. And that is what has made them quite successful over the year. Well, what has made Ravidà olive oil different and special is the fact that it's a natural blend of 3 olive varieties. Direct consumer will really appreciate the very clean finish on the palate, long peppery aftertaste, and the fact that the oil, although it is a 98% fat, will not leave a trace of greasiness in your palate or on your lips. A quality oil will add so much to your food that I think it's best tasted in its simplest of ways. For me, one of the most delicious things to have is a simple slice of bread with a pinch of our sea salt. It's a natural sea salt that really enhances our extra virgin olive oil. Our olive oil does not cover up the ingredients, but it just brings them to life with its delicate grassiness and long peppery aftertaste. Production takes place between, say, mid-October to end of November. That is the optimum ripeness of the olives. We like to pick olives when they are greener rather than riper, because when they're greener, they're richer in antioxidants, vitamin E and vitamin A. It is important that olives are pressed as soon as possible after picking, because they start deteriorating and oxidizing, really, so losing their amounts of polyphenols, that is vitamin E and vitamin A. And once the oil is stored in its tanks, we make sure that it's protected from oxygen, heat, and light. I had a very close relationship with my father, and what is interesting is that he was an engineer, a civil engineer, and he had also traveled extensively, and he was very curious, and I'm also very curious. So we shared different approaches because I came from the world of communication. And him being an engineer was very structured. So I really owe the whole setup of Ravidà to him, because he structured everything with great care and detail and attention that I probably wouldn't have been able to do myself. You know, I came back trying to convince him to start bottling the oil that was produced at the farm. And over the years, it took me a while, but I did convince him. And then he built the olive press and really got working on it, and was fascinated by what was happening. So it was a great collaboration. We developed Ravidà together. I wouldn't have been able to, my ideas would not have come into shape if it had not been for him. Well, Ravidà is my surname. And my father was the last Ravidà, 13th generation. So we traced our family back in a direct lineage to 1300s. And after me, there's not a male Ravidà, so not a direct line. So for me, it's important to carry on this heritage through the olive oil, which will carry our name. It's about bringing quality, tradition, experience, and a vision of a product that is really connected to nature, to the land that it comes from, and to history. History not as something that holds you back, but history as experience, as a sign of quality, of wanting to preserve something that is authentic. Authentic in taste, in flavor, and in perception of what we eat and do every day.